Hello, and welcome back to the Calm and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Janine Halloran, and today is the next in my series where I'm going to be discussing books over the summer for my individual podcast episodes. And I'm really loving this because I get a chance to share with you some different books that I haven't really been able to talk about before, on the podcast at least. I've written some blog posts about them and maybe done some other things, but not necessarily been able to talk about it in podcast form, so I'm excited to do that. So today I wanted to focus on anger because I am noticing that we're having a lot of kids showing up in schools, showing up in lots of different places with a lot of big feelings, including anger, and that can be really challenging to deal with. So one of the things I like to be able to do is use books as part of therapy and books as part of my work with kids. And even when I was, when I had littler kids, I would read to them about different things, including feelings and talking about feelings as we read. And so I always find it helpful to be able to spark a conversation by doing something like reading a book. So I want to share with you a few of my favorite books for introducing and talking about how to cope with anger for kids. So one of the first books that I actually used to use when I was a very young counselor was Don't Rant and Rave on Wednesdays. So it's a book that has been around a really long time, y'all. I think you can still get it on Amazon. Because I did look and I think you can actually still find it on Amazon. However, I know it's older, so it might be a little bit more challenging. But this is one of those books that really helped me shape how I think about coping skills, because a large part of the book explains all the different things you can do when you are feeling big feelings and how to manage them. So I love that. I love that it goes through and talks about all the different things that you could do and helping kids to try and come up with the things that are going to work best for them, which is really what I like to do over at Coping Skills for Kids. Help kids figure out what are the strategies that work best for them. Not what works best for other people, but what works best for you. So lots of different ideas in there, fun illustrations, very big feelings in there. So lots of fun stuff in Don't Rant and Rave on Wednesdays. The second book that I found really super helpful was, I found it several years ago, actually, when I was starting work at Encourage Play. I found this book called Angry Octopus. And what is neat about it is, there's an angry octopus in the book, like the title suggests, but what the book turns out to be, it's a progressive muscle relaxation and deep breathing techniques. So when you're reading the book, you end up doing the squeeze and release of progressive muscle relaxation. So actually walking through strategies to use when you are feeling really angry. So I felt like that was a fun book, a fun way to start introducing progressive muscle relaxation. I like to introduce it in different ways. I sometimes will read a script to kids, sometimes we'll watch a video, and sometimes we'll read a book. So this is a great way to introduce another way of doing the progressive muscle relaxation, which can be a phenomenal skill to handle feelings, especially anger. Another book that I really love is When I Feel Angry, and this is part of the Way I Feel series. And what I like about this book is that it explains that different things can make you angry, and that's going to happen. And anger is part of life. Written more for littler kids, but that it's an expected feeling. And then what matters is what you do with that feeling, which is something I always say. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be full of rage. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be mad. It's what you do with the feeling that counts. You have to be able to make sure that you stay safe, that things around you stay safe, and that you are keeping yourself and all of the things in your life safe. So people and things. You want to make sure that you can express your anger. It's fine to be angry, but let's get it out in safe and healthy ways. So that's what I really like to share with kids. And I think this is a great way to start having that conversation with kids when they are younger, to have them know it's okay to feel anything. It's what you do with that feeling that counts. Another book that I used to use all the time as a school counselor, especially when I worked in that 4th and 5th grade school that I worked in, I used to use How to Take the Grrrr Out of Anger. Isn't they so cute? And it's from Free Spirit Publishing, and they have a bunch of these tiny books that I loved as a school counselor. So they had stuff like stress can really get on your nerves, bullying is a pain in the brain. So I love this. So I would actually use that book very frequently when I had a kid who was dealing with a lot of big anger. So they would come in and I would do individual or small group lessons around chapter at a time. So I'd read a chapter and we discuss it and talk about it and come up with some different strategies. Talking through like, is this something that you've experienced? Is this what you have noticed? Have you noticed other kids feeling angry? Because sometimes it's too hard for them to talk about their own anger, but it's easier to talk about other kids' anger first. What have they noticed other kids not doing properly? And they will very much give you all the answers about what other people are doing wrong. They love that. So again, another great way to start introducing just a conversation sparker around how to deal with anger. And then finally, there is a book that I like to use for my tween set called Chillax, How Ernie Learned to Chill Out, Relax, and Take Charge of His Anger. So it is written in the style of a graphic novel, which can be very appealing for the tween set if they are feeling like these books are not cool enough anymore, like they just don't want to be using these. Chillax might be a good way to go for them. So you can look on all of these books, I believe, are on Amazon, and you can look and find them there. I just wanted to point out a couple of other episodes of the podcast I've recorded that have to do with anger. So there's one that I recorded a while ago called It's Okay to Be Angry. Sometimes when we are having big emotions, or we have really big reactions to children's emotions, but they're human, so they're going to have these emotions, and maybe they don't react in the most, the way that we would expect, and that is okay because they are growing and learning and figuring it out. It's our job to stay calm, be the thermostat, not the thermometer, and to be able to help them go through those challenging times and help them figure out what are their safe and healthy ways that they can cope. So the other episode that I recorded was 5 coping skills to manage anger. So I have my top 5 skills that I like to introduce to kids who are dealing with big anger or big emotions and coming up with different strategies that they can use to help them deal with those big feelings. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I would love to hear back from you if there are any books that you like to use with kids that have to deal with anger. So if you want to just go ahead, you can write to me on Instagram. My handle is at Coping Skills for Kids. And you can go ahead and send me a message over there. That'd be great. If you like this podcast, please feel free to share it and like it or rate it wherever you listen. And as always, don't forget about yourself. Take a few minutes, have a little fun, and have an awesome day.